Hey, my friend, would you like to know how to get a sexy man body in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond without going to the gym and working out? Of course, I would never recommend you not working out or not eating right, but my next guest is a board certified plastic surgeon who Forbes has called the go-to surgeon for men. And he will share with you how he sculpts men's bodies so they look jacked without actually doing the work. Stay tuned for an exciting episode. If you're enjoying the show, please make sure to hit the subscribe button down below so you can get notified when we release new episodes. Our goal on this channel is to help you look and feel younger so you can live your most adventurous life. Finally, if you want to get thicker, fuller, and stronger hair, make sure to check out fullyvital.com. We've put together a set of natural products that helps to stop hair thinning and get you the hair that you deserve. So check out fullyvital.com and I'll include a link down below as well. With that said, let's get right into it. Hey, my friend, welcome back to the Anti-Aging Hacks podcast. Today, my guest is Dr. Douglas Steinbrech, who's a leading plastic surgeon in New York City, LA, and Chicago. And we have a very cool episode for you. So with that said, Dr. Steinbrech, welcome to the Anti-Aging Hacks show.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I'm a big fan of your podcast, and it's a delight to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. I am a big fan of you since I've been learning about you. And for the listeners, and I'll go over this, I already went over this in the intro, but Forbes magazine has called you the go-to plastic surgeon for men. First of all, that's a huge designation, but talk us through your background and how you came to be known as the go-to guy for men.
Well, it all started, I grew up in the Midwest, so I grew up with like a hard work ethic, and I'm proud to have been born in Iowa. So a small town kid, I never really realized that kids from a small town or a farming family could actually go to medical school. So it wasn't until I went to the local university, I realized that I could actually do that. So I ended up graduating from medical school, and then I was interested in plastic and reconstructive surgery. And I became passionate about it because I remember when I was on the surgery service in medical school, and we were on the cardiac service. And at that point, I wanted to be a cardiac surgeon. And they said, one of the guys said, well, in the morning, I had cardiac conference, cath conference, 6 o'clock in the morning, he said, time to make the donuts, which to me meant like doing the same thing every day. I wanted to do something different every day. And that was the beauty of plastic surgery. So I went to NYU, did my general surgery, plastic reconstructive surgery. It's just an excellent plastic reconstructive surgery program. And then I wanted to stay in New York. And it's sort of the mecca of like aesthetic plastic surgery. And when I started, this is where it all gets really, really bad. I started out and I wanted to be that guy up on Park Avenue with the fancy socialites coming to be in my office. And it was for the 6 months, it was just crickets. And it was really what it was, a couple things. Number one, was there's so many plastic surgeons. You say you walk down Park Avenue, you swing a bat and you're going to hit 3 plastic surgeons in the back of the head. There are just so many. And also, everyone was doing the same thing. They were just all being the facelift, the ladies, socialite ladies, facelift king of New York, or they wanted to be the mommy makeover person. Well, something happened. You know, I had a lot of guy friends, and they were asking me, "Hey, can you do my abs? Can you sculpt out my abs?" So I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." Yeah, I do primarily women, but I can do it. And then I started doing more and more men. And I started saying my friends become my patients and my patients became my friend. And we just started to grow. And that's when my patient coordinator, Bernadette, she said, you have to make a men's website. When we made that, it went viral. And we suddenly, bang, hit the roof. And we're seeing all these men because we were doing all these great, interesting things. And it started with sculpting the abs. And then it went from that. They asked, well, if you do abs, can you do pec implants? And I'm like, I've never done them before, but I'll try. Worked great. I know how to do breast implants, so I'll do it. Worked great. Then it was bicep implant, then tricep implant, the calf, then abs, then forearm, then quad implants. Now everything, glute implants, all of it. So I got to be the point where my patient coordinator would come up my desk, no lie, and he would say, Dr. Steinbrech, do you do? And you go, forget it. I'll just go ahead and book it and we'll figure it out, which I would do because had great training at NYU. And so we developed some really, really great techniques. And what it was is understanding a need for a market. There's a great book, and I know some of these people out there like entrepreneurship, and I love it. And there's a really great book about finding your blue ocean, finding an area and find a niche that no one, and they talk about Cirque du Soleil and Yellowtail, a bunch of interesting examples of places that no one has ever looked there. No one has ever provided the right product or the right service for that group. And I did it. And then we cut and pasted it to LA. It was a smash. And then now we've gone to Chicago and we want to go to Dallas and Miami are next.
Fantastic, man. Look at you. More props to you for figuring out the right market and then going after it. And yeah, so again, like you mentioned a lot of things which men are getting augmented in different ways. And I want to dive in. You mentioned the body, or you didn't mention, but as I've been researching you, I found this procedure called the BodyBanking procedure, which you do. And there's a lot of videos of you explaining before and afters, and they're quite striking, I might add. So how does this thing work? And I assume that men are coming to you, from what you listed, for everything under the sun anymore. It's not just my pecs and my abs, but it's everything now, correct?
It's everything. What men want is they want things smaller and they want things bigger. I guess women want the same, but women are only interested in 4 bumps, 2 bumps in the front and 2 bumps in the back. For guys, they don't want so much curves. They want edges. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is the guys want a lot of little bumps. They want little bumps. They want 3 of them on each shoulder. They want 2 of them up by the neck. They want 8 of them or 10 of them down on their abs. They want a lot of little bumps and they want them everywhere, mm-hmm. They're just different than the women. But that's what happened. What I was doing is I remember I would have these guys, a lot of trainers in New York, because there are a lot of private trainers in New York. So I had this amazing, really good looking guy come in, and he was beefy and really big, a lot of muscle, but he didn't have a lot of definition in his abs. And I thought, geez, I'm going to sculpt out his abs and they're going to look really great. And for whatever reason, when I did it, they didn't really shine. They didn't pop. And I was taking a shower. I have this thing called shower technology, because I'm convinced you solve your problems while you're sleeping. Your brain deep down figures out and solves the solution to your problem. But when the alarm goes off, you go running into life and you get shaken in real life. So when I get in the shower and the shower hits me and I start to relax a little bit, put a little shampoo in, the deep things from when I was sleeping start to rise to my conscious. And that's when I realized, that's when those ideas come out. And I realized that actually I probably solved it while I was sleeping, mm-hmm. but all my best ideas have come to me in the shower between the shampoo and the conditioner. I call it shower technology. So nice. In the shower, I said, I got it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the guy back to the OR, but this time we're going to use the power of we call it body banking. I call it body banking. Mm-hmm. Which is using the structural elements of those cells, those fat cells, those mean bad fat cells they remove. They're actually good, because if you put them in the right places, you can be a sculptor and you can add a pop where you really need it. So I took that same gentleman and I brought him back and I did the same sculpting, but this time I injected just a little bead just right underneath the skin, just to make a hint, totally natural where his own abdominal muscles are. I didn't create a fake 6-pack. I didn't do anything. Just on top of each little ab muscle, I put a tiny little bead to make it pop and to make it light up in the light and catch the shadows. It really creates some sculpted architecture that I couldn't get just by, sculpting in the transcriptions, the etching. I couldn't get it with that. And once I started that, I started doing for everything. I did it for the pecs, upper inner pecs, to get more sexy cleavage in a guy because they're losing that upper pull volume. I put in the delts. It's crazy. The delts and the traps are the best. So what happens is we take it all from the middle. Sometimes they do a torso tuck, which means we tuck the shirt into the pants in addition to the body banking. But we basically make everything, we take all the tissues that you have that need to be reset once you turn 30 or 40, and we take all the bad fat, isolate the cells for structure and volume, put up in your shoulders, your chest, your traps, and we put it in your butt, or we can put it in your calves, your biceps, anywhere else. And when I started doing this, I was telling Faraz before we started, the first time I realized that this really, really works And it's like some things in life, they said they have that old saying that everybody's dad used, or your grandmother. If it isn't, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't. Well, it makes my skin kind of, it makes me get excited because I start to think of the first time I remember that it worked and I was freaked out. So we've now, since we did the numbers today, we've done over 2,000 of these cases, and the patients, and we really have it down to we have a great team. We do it very efficiently, very safely, and it's been a really wonderful thing for these patients. But Faraz, I got to tell you, this is the best thing. This is the best thing, because you're out with your family and you have a girlfriend, your boyfriend, your wife, or your husband, and you go to order that dessert, or you go to grab that roll, and your wife or your boyfriend, they go, you can't have that. This is where BodyBank is different, because after we've moved everything around, basically you can have that loaf of bread, you can have that bowl of ice cream with Netflix, and it just makes your shoulders grow wider. It lifts up your chest and it makes your trap pop. So there you go.
It's too good to be true. Is that what you're saying? Or it's not too good to be true?
It's not too good to be true. It really, really does work.
So let me ask you this. This tripped me up the first time I heard of this procedure, and then I saw all your YouTube videos, or a lot of them, and I was just taken aback by how good the people looked after. But my understanding in talking to plastic surgeons from a couple of years ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, was they were using fat in all kinds of places, especially for the scalp, on the face and stuff. But they were finding that only 60 or 70% of the fat actually stuck. The other 30% would just melt away. How are you because you're doing micro adjustments. You're doing like Leonardo da Vinci stuff here.
Right.
You can't have 30% of your fat just melt away, right? So how are you making it stick?
I'll tell you, it's nutrition. It's, first of all, it's about the right technique. And once you start doing something, you become very consistent about it, and you always do it the same way, something magical happens where you just, by doing a lot of things more frequently and more efficiently, you just get better and better and better at it. Mm-hmm. So I'm much better. My graft take is much better than I first started, but there was a real game changer for us. It was about 4 years ago when I had a patient, and the patient, like the fat wasn't surviving and it wasn't doing well. And I was just like, I can't figure this out. But I realized, I said, what's going on with your diet? And he said, well, I want my abs to be like ripped. So I had the surgery, and then I just went on a keto diet right after surgery. And I thought, that's it. He killed all the fat, because after surgery, you need so much energy, so many calories for two things: to heal everything up so you don't get a fluid collection, a seroma, or the incisions don't open up, or you don't have infection. You need a lot of energy for your immune system to fight infections. Even with antibiotics, you do. But the thing that I didn't realize is it's important for nutrition to keep all the cells that we bank. And I even tell people, even in my own language, I say all of it can go away. Because if people don't listen to me and they don't eat a lot of carbs, we make people 2 weeks before put on 5 or 10 pounds, because we want them to be in positive nutritional balance. That we want the tilt to be going up so that they're not in starvation mode as they're going into a big surgery. But also we put them I have them drink a weight gainer. We're making a special formula. And right now we use a pre-existing formula that I really love. And we make them have 3 shakes a day. For 28 days. So I own them with me. For 28 days, they have to drink the shake or put in a little bit of pudding, and that helps as many cells survive. So our graft take is actually a little bit higher than most people. It's not 30 or 40. For the pecs, it's more like 50 to 70. For the delts and the glutes and the traps, it's more 80 to 95%. But it's because they have to listen to me, and they get exhausted from eating so much. And there's some that kind of cheat a little bit, because in the business, a lot of things you overcorrect, because not all the cells survive, or there's a little bit of swelling. So you overdo things. You look a little big, a little like a gorilla, a bit like Schwarzenegger for the first couple of weeks, but then things settle down and it looks perfect for you, right? Mm-hmm. But we have to overcorrect for that. But sometimes people get a little bit nervous. Some of the guys get nervous and they try and like they try to be the doctor and they try and kind of surf. They try and land the plane. I'm not going to eat all the carbs because this is a little too much for me, but I'm going to titrate it. So it's going to be, they always lose. You have to eat as many carbs all the way up front, and you just have to pray to the carb gods and give your life to me so that we have as many survive. So you have the best results in the end.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. I remember when I was 25, I was doing those massive carb gainers or weight gainers. And
I was doing it too.
Yeah, and I was blowing up pretty quickly. Those work.
They work.
Okay, so you're loading people up on carbs a month before the surgery, 2 to 4 weeks before the surgery, and then at least 2 weeks after, just to make sure the cells survive. Now, let me ask you about the liposuction procedure. I believe you're doing that. And from what I understand, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand that the number of fat cells that you have gets determined by the time you're between 17 and 20, 22, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all the fat cells you have. So
yes.
If you're getting fat later on in life, it's just adding more volume to those existing fat cells. It's not that you're getting more fat cells, right?
Exactly.
Right. And when you're losing weight, you're shrinking those fat cells. So what you are doing with the liposuction is you're sucking individual fat cells out of there so they no longer exist in the bad areas of the body, which means that even if I eat that slices of pizza afterwards, I cannot actually physically gain that weight in my belly, correct?
Right. It's so hard for people to understand that. And you said it precisely. After 18 years old, you have a finite number. And I tell people to think of fat cells like hair follicles. When you get a hair transplant, they move it from one area to the other. You don't regrow a follicle right behind it. It just doesn't happen. And you're exactly right. You think of a person that is 700 pounds and he lose 500 pounds to 200 pounds. He has the same number of fat cells, more or less, than he had. They just all shrunk from huge plums down to tiny little prunes, down to raisins. And that's the same thing that we're doing. But that's why body banking is the game changer, because just like a hair transplant, we are physically removing the fat cells that are going to show up later. They're going to enlarge later because Mother Nature, when you turn 35 or 40, she starts messing with you. She starts like pulling the levers, turning up the estrogen, turning down the testosterone. But I'll tell you why she does that in a second. But when she does that, the predetermined number of cells are the same, but they start to blow up in these areas. And for men, it's a lower chest, it's underneath the side boob, if you will. It's the flanks, all of that and visceral fat. All that starts to come out because Mother Nature turns up those levers when you turn 30 or 35. But if we move all those things, they're moved up to your shoulder, they're moved to your chest, they're moved to your butt. And that's why BBLs work so well for women. It's not because because the surgeon is a genius. He's a genius. It's because if you eat the same 8 gallons of ice cream, your butt gets huge and your waist stays tiny. Hey, hello. The light bulb goes off. That's why my BBL is, and that's why I get to eat so much ice cream. So the same thing works for the man. So when Mother Nature switches around those levers, she is really ticked off because she sees her everything's failed because everything's been moved around.
So wow, I got to do a double take on this because you just dropped a truth bomb right here, or a bomb, I should say. You're taking all the fat cells I wouldn't say all, but a lot of fat cells from bad places. Yeah. Putting them on my delts, my pecs. I'm looking good, broader shoulders. I got the V, but it's not a muscle V, it's a fat V. And that fat's going to stick around. And the more I eat, the more I replenish those new fat cells. And they're acclimatized now to the new environment. So they're not going to just leave me. They're just going to stay there. Yeah.
Right. But there are just a couple of things to think about. First of all, once we put them back in, they're structural. And this is one thing I like to clear up from the get-go. And you can see this on my videos. When you go to my YouTube channel, if you just type in male plastic surgery on YouTube, you're going to find my YouTube channel, or if you go to Instagram, you're going to find male plastic surgery. That's my channel. You're going to find all the stuff there. But the thing is people think, and this is why I don't like to call it fat grafting, because when you say fat grafting, the patients always think there's going to be a big blubbery piece of butter up there that's just going to you're going to go out jogging down the street. It's going to be like blubbery all over the place. It's not. It's like when guys on the Instagram, when they're swole, when it's big and beefy, like on the off season. It's not. If you're if you're a bodybuilder and you want to see like that one kid on Instagram, you want to see the fibers dance on your chest. It's not like that. It's more like if you're swole. But let's be honest, most of the people that have a busy job, a busy, a great big family, or even a couple kids. I just have one son. I love him to death, but he keeps me busy. I can't spend 5 hours at the gym, and I can't be doing all my meal prep to have a smoking hot body that has rippling, dancing fibers. So I would take to look swole and look big and beefy for the rest of my life versus looking, I call it Uncle Charlie at the beach that has skinny little arms and a big fat gut. A lot of visceral fat. No, I would take looking swell. I'd be fine. And that's the other key thing about this is the more fat cells you can keep on the outside of your body, think about it, the fewer visceral fat cells or gut cells. And this is Faraz, you have to know this, not just in terms of, this is anti-aging. If you want to be healthy, and the people up at Columbia University are very interested on this, they know that if they have the obesity clinic, they are really into this. They know if you have less visceral fat, as you get older, you're going to have less diabetes. You're going to have less joint problems. You're going to have less heart disease. You're going to have less morbidity and mortality. You're going to live longer. So because of that, you're going to stay out of a wheelchair. So because of that, they love what I'm doing because they're like, oh, we could do this in rats, but we've always wanted to do this in humans. You're doing this in humans. I'm keeping more of the fat. If you put two people together, two identical brothers, one of them, you just suck out all the fat. The other brother, you suck it all out, but you put it back. You keep it on the outside of the body. And then you tell them, go live 40 more years, but eat whatever you want. What do you think is going to happen? I've seen this in my own clinic. The guy that wasn't banked, because I see this with other patients, I call them liposuction cripples. They come back and they're teased out like a little lady on their hips, but then their gut, they're like 10 months pregnant. It's all visceral fat because they have all the time, all the money in the world. They go to the best clinics in Paris, in Italy, and in Bogota, and they have the best plastic surgery, but nobody banks it. And they just keep on stealing fat from the outside of the body. And guess what? They go back and they have those same creamy sauces, all those beautiful, wonderful restaurants and those rich foods. And guess what? Every bit of it comes back as visceral fat. Those are called liposuction cripples.
Very, very interesting. Okay. So when you take this fat out of the stomach, and I've seen doctors do it where they insert this long metal, I don't want to call it tube, but like a pin.
We call it a cannula. So it's basically, a cannula. That's what we call it.
And then there's a lot of back and forth movement. I don't know if it's sped up on Instagram when I see it, but I just see somebody going to town and I'm like, are you tearing some of the organs out? Like that just seems too violent and too quick for it to be happening, but it's pretty safe. Yeah. People have been doing liposuction for many, many years.
Yeah. They've been doing it for a long time. But the thing is, we don't poke through the abdominal wall. And so we don't go into visceral fat. So we don't hit any of the organs. There are two layers of fat underneath the skin. There's a superficial layer and there's a deep layer. So we just stay in those two layers of fat. We stay completely safe. We stay on the quote unquote outside of the body and we don't poke through.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So in terms of liposuction, this is a pretty, meaning it's outpatient, not outpatient, but how long does it take to get all the fat out of the body?
It is outpatient. It's an outpatient procedure, which means my patients came and I did, 10, 11 cases this week. So we start surgery at 6 o'clock, but on Monday we finish at 8 o'clock. On Wednesday, we finished at 7 o'clock. They're long days. I'm very happy. We have a lot of patients. I feel blessed. But you come into the clinic, you come into our office. We do it in our surgical suite. Patients prefer it because they don't like to go to the hospital. I hate to say it because they're all the staff from the ICU, all the MRSA, MRSA, all the bad stuff from the multi-drug resistant bugs that they see in the ICUs. So in our clinic, we keep anyone, if they have even a temperature, and everybody goes home, those people that have a temperature. So we're just cleaner, we happen to be a lot of great hospitals. I'm not saying that there aren't unclean hospitals, but people they also like the privacy that we have at our clinic. But you come in, you have our anesthesiologist. We either do it under local, usually we put it under general anesthesia. The case can take anywhere from an hour to 4 hours, 5 hours, depending if we're doing a torso tuck on a guy. If we're doing a torso tuck, that could be 4.5 hours. And then we body bank everything up upstairs or downstairs. And then they stay with us an hour and a half, 2 hours. Don't kick anybody out early, but then they go home. My last patient just went home just 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Okay. And then when you take the fat out, Dr. Steinbrech, are you processing it? Are you micronizing it? Are you keep cutting it down into very, very fine?
People do all sorts of things. Some people really go to town. Some people like spin it around on a Ferris wheel. I swear to God, they used to spin it on this thing that would spin around in tubes and a Ferris wheel. Mm-hmm. People put it all through all types of filters. They put in, they mix it up with corn chips. I mean, people do everything with this stuff. I don't. Mm-hmm. I try and touch it minimally. I'm a non-interventionalist. All we do is rinse it with a little bit of antibiotic formula, and then we sort it very simply into the syringes, and then we put it right into the patient. For me, the better, and this is what I was saying before, the more you do it, the better you get at it. For us, our technique of handling it less works very well. Mm-hmm. A lot of people do a lot of different things. And the other thing is pharma always gets in the way. They're like, let's see, there's this liposuction thing. How can we insert ourselves into it? So they make this contraption or that contraption. And sometimes the hospitals buy the stuff because insurance pays for everything, but whether or not it really adds to the whole thing, it's debatable. I just find if we handle it less, we get better survival.
I got you. Okay, so let me ask you how the process. We talked about the process of pulling it out of the body.
Yeah,
very little processing, if you will. Then how do we inject it back? I assume the male patients are asking for multiple locations for it to be injected back. So then, how are you just using cannulas to put it back in and just looking with your eyes?
Yeah. Actually, I was so interested in this that I made a company called Alpha Aesthetics. That's the entrepreneurial side of me, because there's so few good products that are made for men's aesthetic procedures that I just wanted to start. I was writing a textbook about men's plastic surgery. And I'm like, gosh, this is difficult because there's such a problem with not having the right tools and the right implants. So I made this textbook. I was the editor. We had actually 68 wonderful chapter contributors from all over the world, really the finest plastic surgeons. And I twisted their arm and made them write chapters for our textbook. But then also I went out and we acquired a implant company, Alpha Aesthetics. So we do men's body implants and women's body implants. And we're developing better techniques, better preoperative nutrition, postoperative nutrition, our own formulas, and also better garments, better compression garments. And this is one silly thing, that you can't find anything that doesn't have pretty lace on it. Guys, dudes don't wear lace. And who wants to wear a white garment that's going to get dirty and bloody? So all of our stuff is like black, no lace, and it's masculine. We also make stuff for women as well, but it's just like toned down, and it's like made for a man, plastic surgery product made for a man. Mm-hmm. So that's why it was so important to delve into this. Now, getting back to your question, what kind of I developed a lot of specialized cannulas. So we have separate specialized cannulas that inject into the delta area, one that injects into the pec area, one injects into the glute area, and another one that injects into the ab area. And they're all different sizes. The bigger the area, the slightly larger the cannula. These are all very small, and you can inject just with the puncture of a pin or maybe just a nick of an incision, just a tiny nick. You can get in there and then inject it. And also the syringe that we use depends on the area. If it's a larger area, we use a larger syringe. Just yesterday, we were banking the abs, doing abdominal highlights into one of our guys just this morning. And so we use little 1 cc syringes because those are the right size to be able to inject tiny micro amounts into each ab, because it's such detailed, small work, very intricate.
Gotcha. And for the larger areas, once you get the cannula in there, then you can move the same incision point around and disperse it everywhere, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Does the fat not look dimply in red, in I guess light, not blue light, but
No.
like the orange light?
No, it looks great because it's deep enough underneath the skin. And what it does is just like I was saying before, those guys on Instagram that are making gains in the wintertime and they're just swole, it goes underneath the skin and it just blows up the tissue, and it's tense. You can almost knock on it. It's firm. So it's not bubbly and it's not jello-y and it's not jiggly. It's firm. And if you look at my videos, you'll see me, I'm like actually knocking on their shoulders to demonstrate how beefy and firm this is. But no, it doesn't get, you may see when you see some videos and people injecting initially while they're actually injecting, you may see slight irregularities, but with the compression, the body has a magical way of squeezing out the fluid and evening that out. So once they put on compression and we do lymphatic drainage and all those things even out.
Okay. How many of your procedures require implants to be put in versus just pure fat?
I'd say we do a little bit of both, and I'll get to that. But majority of our cases are probably 60-70% of our cases are just body banking, are just using the cells, the lipocell transfer. The other probably 30 or 40%, we may use an implant because there are just some areas like your bicep, your calves, where the lipocell transfer isn't as great. So the lipocell transfer is great for your traps or your shoulders. So we'll use it, or for your butt, nice, big, juicy, muscular butt. Hey, that's what you want.
Nothing
it's
wrong
great.
with that. Yeah,
nothing wrong with that. It's nothing but goodness with that. So we use that for that because those are such good areas. But then we save the implant where the graft take isn't quite as good. I like to say that your delts and your butt and your traps, they're like a tropical forest. You can drop anything and it grows, flourishes. But the chest, not so much. The calves, not so much. It will work, but just not as much. It's a little more like the Sahara Desert. Not dry, not that bad, but it's not like a tropical forest. Yeah.
Okay. So let's say you're a man that gets the body banking procedure done and you're hanging out and you have a partner over and she reaches over and grabs you by the delt. Is she going to know that it's not muscle?
She probably is not going to know. She's just going to think that it's beefy, good muscle. She's not going to know.
Okay. So somebody touching it is probably not going to know. Wow.
No, it's solid. And believe me, if they did, then I wouldn't be in business now, because I would be going back and sucking out everything that I put in for the last 8 years now. And I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
Okay. How long does this body banking procedure last? So let's say I get ribbed with the body banking procedure. 10 years from now, will I still be the same ribbed, or do I have to come back for revisions?
Yeah, we're guessing right now because we're really not out 10 years, but things are looking very, very promising. Because we really haven't had any revisions, maybe one or two. And usually what they are is just people become, they change their lifestyles, or they change how they feel about things, or they have an accident or something like that. But for the most part, people are very, very happy. And so we feel good that 10 years will be fine. And what I always tell people is, listen, I'll tell you, you may need a little bit of a revision after 10 years, but you're going to be a hell of a, and I was asking Faraz, can I say a swear word? You're going to be a hell of a lot better off than if you don't do anything now and you just sit at home and your gut just swells out and you become that Uncle Charlie at the beach.
Yeah, I agree.
You're going to be way ahead of the game. May not be perfect in 10 years, but you're going to be way ahead of the game versus letting everything just bulge out, just letting the battle of the bulge win.
Yeah, I imagine your clients or your customers have a lot of confidence after they do the procedure.
Yeah.
I could just see, before and after that I've seen, I'm like, wow, that's fascinating.
Well, this is the other thing. When you ask me if it's real, you can look at my videotapes. And when I show these guys afterwards, some of them are shy. Some of them don't want to show their faces. Some of them are so proud that they want to show, because they want to help, they want to help our office and they want to help our movement, because there really is a movement. And they want to, so they're happy to show their faces. But when you look at them, they have this, and you're like pounding on their chest and pounding on their shoulder. They have this look of pride on their face, because they feel they own it. They feel like they did it. A lot of times I come in and I go in there and I'm just like, wow, you look great to the patient. And they're like, thanks, doc. And the thanks, doc isn't like, thank you, doc. It's like, thank you, doc, for noticing how good I look, because they really feel almost like they did it at the gym, which they did. They also do part of it. And that's another thing we could talk about is these are not mutually exclusive. They're mutually inclusive. But they feel, as much as they feel good about it, they feel like it's part of them as much as they feel like natural muscle at the gym is a part of them.
Mm-hmm. And then again, so going to the gym, let's just explore those two scenarios. One is that you love your results so much that you say, to hell with the gym, I'm going to eat ice cream for the next 6 months. It's all good, not a big deal. The other cohort will say, yeah, I'm going to take care of myself even more now that I look so sexy. Is there any different 6 months out from in these two cohorts?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Number one, if you're not going to go to the gym, then I kind of don't want to operate on you. Mm-hmm. And it's not, I just don't see, this is funny because I'm just an antithesis of what people think of plastic surgeons. They think plastic surgeons just want to give you the shortcut so you never have to go to the gym. No, I'm here for fitness. I believe in fitness. I go to a gym that's open at 5 so that I can get here by 5:45 to start my day. So I believe in fitness, and I don't think that plastic surgery should be a replacement for it. Mm-hmm. And so if you're going to be my patient and you don't want to, in the end, to diet the right way, and in the end, you don't want to go to the gym, then I kind of don't want, what I prefer is you to be one that does want to be fit. And so most of our patients see that. And I think even some of their trainers see that. They're not afraid of us. They're not afraid of losing their client to a plastic surgeon, because we don't. We say, go back there. I always say the gym will make us look better, but we will make your gym look better, because I could do things that the gym can't. You have that excess skin and that excess fat in bad places that no matter how much you work, you hit a genetic wall or you hit a gym wall and nothing's going to happen. How many times they say, is this going to tone up? No, it's not going to tone up. Yeah. I'm telling you. So I think they complement each other. And I think that I never ever want somebody not to go to the gym after. But if you do want to go back and not do anything, again, you're going to look a hell of a lot better than if you didn't do anything at all. Agreed.
And again, my show is anti-aging. We really want you to take charge. Aging is not a process that you can just sit around on your couch and hope things are going to be okay. This is serious stuff. We're still in the infancy of fighting it. And so, okay, let me ask you some more questions.
Yep.
I have some friends that have lost a ton of weight over the years, and they've had very, very loose, crepey skin. Mm-hmm. And I assume for some of your patients, when you're taking out some of this fat, it'll have the similar effect. So what do you do when there's loose skin around the belly, Doc?
Yeah. So that's when we do, like I was saying before, we do a torso tuck. So a torso tuck, it can happen with guys that have sort of muffin top around, or guys that had a muffin top, they lost it, but they still have the residual skin. So I did it this morning. I brought the guy in, we marked them all up, and I inject him. I do all the liposuction, any residual fat. I put it up in his shoulders, his chest. I actually put it in his butt too. And then I turn him, while he's on his tummy, I take out the back skin and I close up. I bring the skin down and I tuck the shirt in the pants. We turn him back over. We tuck in, we do his tummy tuck or his torso tuck. We bring all the skin down. So either 270, that's 2/3 around, or 360. And I tell you how I started this for us. Mm-hmm. I started 270 torso tucks because I had these guys that looked just fantastic. They were banked and everything was wonderful. And I would suck out all the fat, but they would still have a little something there.
Yes.
And I finally figured out, I had this one guy who looked so perfect. Even he would go down to Miami and I'd say, I bet you have the best body on the beach. And he's like, as a matter of fact, I couldn't find anybody that has a better body than I have. He just admitted it. But he said, but he was a perfectionist. He said, I still have a little bit back here. I got so tired of hearing him complain about it. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to cut that skin out. And just so that he'd like shut up. So he said, go ahead and do it. So I started doing flank tucks, right? I started doing flank tucks. But the problem was some people would have a little excess there and a flank tuck. And I ended up getting closer and closer and closer. And now I just do 270 torso tucks on all the guys. If they have a little bit of excess that I know people have these other energy devices, and I don't want to say anything negative, and I don't want to, but usually they overpromise and underdeliver. There's a lot of money in it from private corporations. I just have to be careful about what I say because I want to be respectful to people in the industry. Yeah. But sometimes these devices can overpromise and underdeliver. And we all saw there was something called blank lipo 15 years ago on the cover of People magazine, Us magazine. Give it to one of those girls that had a sex tape. Not going to mention any names. And then it'll go viral. And these devices in the wrong hands created so many deformities, so much puckering, so many burns, so many bad things, these energy devices. So a lot of times you just need to set people's expectations correctly. But if you lost 50 pounds, people come in with lost 50, 100 pounds, and they think that they think it's all liposuction. It's not. It's excess skin, and you got to tuck the shirt into the pants, and they look awesome. I saw my pre-ops from earlier this week today. These guys are so happy, and they know they're going to have an incision, but that's built into the equation. It's a trade, but it's a great trade. And these days, this is what I love about men's plastic surgery. This is the dirty little secret.
Oh, tell us.
Yeah, the dirty little secret is women are more afraid about incisions. Men were, not so great on incisions. What happened in the last 20 years in American society? Dun, 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 the tattoo, right? So even guys, I don't have a single tattoo on my body, but if I had a really bad contour, excess skin, and I was afraid of having a problem with a scar, and we only have 3% of our guys even think about getting a tattoo if they don't like their incision. But that's not a bad trade-off. I would definitely get a tattoo, some of this little Chinese expression or something on it, or some little flowers or a vine going across there. Yeah. You always have that as your bailout. So I tell the guys, hey, don't worry about it. If it's really the 3% that you're not so sure about having it, it's a great trade-off, and you can always cover it with the tattoo. So that is like a good thing to know.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
It takes away all the fear, really.
And typically, I think anybody that's coming to you would probably know that they're more susceptible to hypertrophic scars or keloids, and they can give you that information up front so you guys can plan for it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me ask you about gynecomastia.
Yeah.
I've also gotten this question because I don't know if there's estrogens increasing in the water supply, or there's just men are just lower in testosterone overall as compared to 100 years ago, and there's more estrogens, and so they're developing man boobs, and even at a younger age. And so, would the surgery that you're doing, would that get rid of man boobs and make it manly boobs?
Yeah, it was. A lot of things are happening culturally with us are we're eating more, and we're supersizing everything. So we're getting more fats and really more carbs in our diet, because fat doesn't make fat, carbs make fat. In fact, this is a funny story. I was at a plastic surgery conference, and there's one day that's a Korean day. And they said, in Korea, we used to do only breast augmentations in B and C, but now we're up to C and D for the last 10 years now. And the people said, why? And the person giving the lecture said, because 10 years ago, McDonald's moved to Korea. So, but it's happened. We're supersizing our but if you're watching this broadcast, you're probably watching your weight, because you know that that's going to contribute to aging and problems with aging, like we talked about before. But absolutely, that is one thing that we definitely need to be better about, and that's what we're getting better about by using these techniques to try and fight the aging.
Got it. Okay, so we're coming up on time here, so I want to be respectful.
Sure.
But I talk to anti-aging practitioners that are not doing what you're doing. They are trying to rejuvenate the body with regenerative technologies like stem cells and PRP and exosomes, which some of them were drawing some of these stem cells from fat, but that's come under increased scrutiny from the FDA. So it's a very gray area right now. But are you or your patients requesting any of these regenerative technologies as you're doing the procedure, or is that separate?
For PRP, you're talking about?
Yeah, PRP or exosomes or stem cells.
Yeah, this is where we stand with this. Is our society and the FDA actually they kind of put their foot down, and this vampire lift and all these things. A lot of people were doing a vampire lift, and they were doing PRP, and then they were like sneaking in a little bit of filler at the same time. It's kind of skeezy stuff. It's a little bit dicey. I try and be very, I never want to have a practice where my staff is in the uncomfortable situation where they see me saying untruthful things for business, or I never want to be in a position where I put them in a position where they have to tell some kind of untruthful things. So some of these like vampire lifts and things like that, they were sneaking in products to do the PRP work for them. So the FDA kind of put their foot down. They said only if you are actually doing a study about stem cells or a study about PRP can you actually do the procedure. Now they're saying that, and we feel this with our, we made a recommendation. Well, we put our foot down with our society. I'm on the board of the Aesthetic Society, which is our national society, that we are not going to advocate for anyone from our society to be talking about guaranteeing that these things do things a little bit. Is it really snake oil? We're not sure about it. So in terms of stem cells, we know that stem cells do something, but is it the moving things in the right direction? And we suspect at this point that it's sort of over promises and under delivers. And so we as a society and I as my practice don't really promise that. I never make that claim. That being said, I will tell you this, Faraz. I've had a lot of guys that when we banked, because keep in mind, of all the fat cells that we do put in there, there is a small portion of stem cells. I've had some patients that have told me that they feel that they're getting a better response with their muscle build from their delts, their shoulders, from their chest after we've done body banking. Could be in their head, could be that they're more excited about going to the gym and they're more doing a better job at the gym. Could be a placebo effect, or it could be some aspect of VEGF, FGF, TGF beta, the growth factors that are around those stem cells with that body banking that are making a real difference, but we don't really know back for sure. And if I could for one moment, I'd like to jump back. We were talking before about gynecomastia, because this is an area that so many men, they really feel that they're just stuck with it, or they were born with it, or we're seeing also a lot of it lately because so many guys on Instagram are seeing other guys with great gains, and they're learning about testosterone and exogenous testosterone and steroids. And people are kind of like, there's like no shame about doing steroids. There are the natties, which are natural guys. And then there are people that are like, hey, I'm out and I'm proud to being steroids. And there's some guys on YouTube channels that are showing people how to inject. So whether you like it or not, I'm no judgment either way. But there's just more of a use of it. And because of that, we're starting to see a lot more. I see it in the lump, in the notch in the guy's butt when he turns around. And the other day I said, you're left-handed, guy. And he's like, how'd you know I'm left-handed? You didn't see me fill out the paperwork. Do you have cameras in here? And I said, no, I can tell. As he had a left nut on a knot on the back of his glutes, right where a left-handed guy will inject steroids. And I do see a lot of that. So because of that, we also see more gyno. What I do that's different, we do some liposuction to feather it out, but then I strip it out. A lot of times you see some of these guys on YouTube videos or TikTok, they want to get a lot of viewership. So they make this big incision, they take out this big blob and they throw it across the room because they get YouTube views. Well, guess what? Good for you. Good for the doctor. He gets a lot of YouTube view. Bad for the patient that now has a big scar underneath his areola unnecessarily. I do what I call a clamp strip pull through, where it's a tiny little nick underneath the nipple, and then we pull it through in tiny little bits so you don't have to make that incision. I do that in 98% of my patients. So there's another way to do it. So you don't necessarily have to go to the TikTok guy that's going to make a big incision just so they can use you for a video.
Okay, fantastic. Good to know that there's a solution out there, actually. Okay, last question, and then we'll be done. And yeah. I brought this up to you a little bit earlier before we started speaking, Dr. Steinbrech, was what can men do as they approach 35, 40 to keep their jowls from not dropping down to their face and to keep their facial structure kind of strong and masculine and broad?
Yeah.
What would you suggest? Can it be done using just natural methods and lasers, or do you need the
No.
fillers? And okay.
This is my favorite. The guys on YouTube and this went viral a year ago, and they were just biting on things and clamping down their jawline because if they did this, that would give them a model jawline. Usually, the guys started with a model jawline and said that's how he got there. Or there's a lot of weird Photoshop going on. But just clenching on your jaw doesn't do a lot for that. It may, it may increase your mass or make it bulky, maybe in a way that you don't want, but it's not going to give you that more chiseled Brad Pitt jawline. What is going to give that to you is by replacing or augmenting the natural bone that you have. And this is a mistake. People think that when you get older, you reach your 40s, or Faraz is talking about that it's all about sun damage, it's about skin, it's about the droopiness, it's about aging. It's not all about that. What happens is when you turn 20, you look pretty good when you're in high school, whatever, but guys really look good in the early 20s. They look their best because what happens is the jawline, even though they stop growing height, the jawline continues to grow forward, to project, to look more masculine, to look more confident, to look more powerful until they're 28 years old. What is your birthday present for your 28th birthday? Mother Nature, there she comes. There she comes. That dirty old lady. She starts to resorb the jawline. You start to lose mass in your mandible. So if I had skulls of a 27-year-old skeleton and a 72-year-old skeleton, the 27-year-old would be out to here, and the same person, the 72-year-old, would be almost fully recessed. So what we need to do is, it's not just a laser. A laser is just going to pull you back, and you're going to even look worse because you're not going to have anything there. What you have to do is replace or augment the bony volume that you've lost with time. And if you never had it, it's going to make you look better because it's going to make you look more confident, like the guy on Wall Street, the killer on Wall Street, the Leo DiCaprio that everyone wants to work at. That's where a lot of my Wall Street guys come from. They want to have that jaw, or the trainer that wants to have that jawline. Or it'll also, if you're 40, it'll make you look younger because by replacing that volume, you look like the 28-year-old that you used to look like when you did have more structural volume to your mandible. So it's all about Mother Nature.
Gotcha. So with the body banking procedure, you're saying it could be upwards of 8, 10 years, maybe more. We don't know yet. But with the jaw replacement or the fillers in your jaw, how often or how long do those last before you have to do it again?
Yeah, for the fillers that we use, I wish you could just put in and was a one-shot deal. The fillers that last, the company says 2.5 years. We find that people usually come back about a year and a half, and they don't have to redo the whole thing because they have enough volume. What they want to do is just make it sharper. They're like, it was great for about a year and a half, but I just want to sharpen it up where it was. So all I have to do is just put a little bit on top just to sharpen up. The cheekbone looks amazing. A nice high Nordic cheekbone. It looks tremendous. And then we sharpen up the jawline, a nice sharp jawline. And when you bring that jawline out and you sharpen it out, it catches the light and throws the shadow. And that's the thing that makes it look looks much more strong and more defined and much more definition to it.
Fantastic. Dr. Steinbrech, those are all the questions I had. Thank you so much for giving us so much value and sharing all of these things that I didn't even know existed until about a few weeks ago when I started researching you. So thanks for coming on. And where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram, Male Plastic Surgery. We're actually legit. This is not just a bunch of marketing. This is a textbook that I wrote because I want a lot of other plastic surgeons. It's a real textbook that I edited that we want other doctors to learn how to do these techniques. So they can find me on Male Plastic Surgery on Dr. Steinbrech, where you're going to see my son and me running around in the snow. And you can also find us on Snapchat, again, Male Plastic Surgery, and on Facebook, Male Plastic Surgery.
Fantastic. Thank you again for coming on.
All right. Thanks so much, Faraz.